Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Crimes, Killers, Cults,
And beer.
and beer, and coughing,
And illness.
illness.
And
Yeah,
headaches.
yeah. We've both been sick as hell the past week. Everybody's sick. So we're just gonna dive right into it. I think this one is probably going to be my favorite one out of the British Binge, and it's another lesser known one. And I kind of refer to this guy as the British BTK.
Why?
Because he only killed one person, but this guy was an idiot who thought that he was a genius and liked to fuck with the police.
A lot of them are like that, aren't they?
Yeah, but this guy takes it to BTK levels.
Wow.
So
It's kind of, well, I mean, but did he go around telling everybody that he was a serial killer? Did he
no, no.
advertise? Okay, so he wasn't
Well,
as stupid
yeah,
as
he wasn't Mark Martin stupid. He was BTK stupid.
different levels of stupid. There's
Yeah,
levels to this.
but Michael Sam was an American football player born January 7th, 1990. He played defensive lineman for the University of Missouri and was drafted by the St. Louis Rams, and he was recognized as the first openly gay player in the NFL. Or maybe not. Maybe I'm talking about Michael Benjamin Sams, SAMS, who was a British kidnapper, extortionist, and murderer.
You know, anybody watching this podcast is just going to be so confused. I can see people listening to just the first part and then going, what? Getting
Well,
interrupted.
I
Like all they
ha-
listened to was that, and then they had to stop and go
and
to
then they could
something
tell their
else, and they're
friend,
thinking,
"Did you know that that football player Michael Sam was a murderer?" he,
in the
he
UK?
he apparently moved to England. And
Friend's going to be like, the fuck?
but I couldn't. When I saw the name, I'm like, okay, I got to do that again. Because that was really funny on the Mark Martin thing. In 1991, he kidnapped and murdered a teenager, Julie Dart. And a year later, he kidnapped a real estate agent named Stephanie Slater, and he imprisoned her for 8 days, where he tormented and raped her.
In a
Um,
house she was selling?
yeah, yeah.
Really?
He made an appointment just to see a house and abducted her and kidnapped her out of the house that she was showing.
See, I actually said that in jest, but that, wow.
But
Real estate agents, be warned.
yeah,
Oh.
but he put out a ransom demand for her, and it was paid, and he released her. But he evaded the police and taunted them in a way that would make BTK blush. um, but it was Stephanie Slater's bravery that led to Sam's conviction. At first, Julie Dart's murder was unsolved, but it was obvious that the same person who had taken Julie had also taken Stephanie.
Hmm.
While in prison, Sams assaulted a female prison guard and he tried to sue the prison several times for laughable reasons, but put a knife in that.
All right, we're already starting out with knives this episode. Here we go.
Sources of the doc Ransom and the BBC, several articles from the BBC, and a little bit of wiki. So Michael Benjamin Sams, not to be confused with the NFL player Michael Sams or the distinguished British musician and composer Mike Sams. Um, at, at least the musician was British, but
Or to be confused with them, as we should say.
yeah, our chucklehead was born August 11th, 1941, in Keighley, West Riding of Yorkshire. This was one of three historic Yorkshire subdivisions because of the size of the area. The other notable one is York, but in 1974, all the subdivisions were merged in with just Yorkshire. And The UK is condensing areas into one large area. Meanwhile, the US is separating large cities up into different suburbs um, as development continues. For example, there were probably there's probably at least 50 little communities in that make up once what was once called Orlando.
Orlando. All right.
Yeah, just little fun fact. Um, Anyway, Michael Sams joined the Merchant Navy at 20 years old. He stayed with that job for 3 years. He then became a central heating engineer and later started his own business. But then the crime bug got him. He was also married 3 times. He had 2 sons from his first wife, and he was married to his third wife when he was arrested for the kidnappings and murder. In 1991, there was
So is
lots of
this a shock to his family, I'm assuming?
well, yeah, but be nice to your exes. That's all I got to say. um,
Really? Do you have exes, Bill?
yeah.
You could be the ex that they need to be nice to.
Hmm. um, in 1991, there was lots of unrest in the UK. They had joined the U.S. coalition against Iraq and Kuwait, and all the while, the IRA was launching attacks in England, including a mortar attack on Downing Street. All this would be overshadowed, not immediately, but later. It all started when 18-year-old girl Julie Dart had been kidnapped, and they just didn't know it yet. Julie Darts lived in Leeds. She lived with her mother, and she had a boyfriend named Dominique. And she would often stay with him as well. And she was bright. She had a good work ethic. She was a track star at school, and she wanted to join the military as a PT instructor. One day, Dominique got a note saying that she had been kidnapped and she was being held for ransom, and if the ransom wasn't met, she'd be killed. She had been missing for almost a week, but neither her mom or her boyfriend realized it because they both thought that she was at the other's place at the time because she bounced back and forth so much. But obviously, when the
That
letter came,
sucks.
yeah,
Yeah, well, and I'm wondering like how much this ransom was, considering she was really young, and these families
getting
obviously
there.
weren't prominent families, so how much you gonna extort them for?
Um, the letter was also sent to the Leeds Police Department saying that a prostitute had been kidnapped from Chapeltown. The letter demanded £140,000 and that the money had to be delivered by a policewoman at Birmingham New Street Station, which was a train station.
Mm.
Um, when Julie's mother brought her copy of the letter, it was discovered that both the letter that she had gotten and the police had gotten both had the same postmark, July 11th, 1991 at 7 p.m. I think not. Definitely not a coincidence. The police began questioning prostitutes in the red light area of Chapeltown. Some said that they had seen Julie, but they hadn't seen her in like a week. It was then that Julie's mom learned that Julie had a hidden part of her life. Uh, she had racked up some debt, £600, and a man that she had worked for accused her of stealing money from his cafe, and she denied it, but the man threatened to press charges. She blew it off initially, but when Julie went to take her exam for the military, this man found out about it and reported the alleged theft to the recruiter, which torpedoed her entry. Even though she had nailed the test, she killed that test
For 600
for £600.
bucks?
Yeah. The recruiter
Wow.
told, yeah, what a dick. I
That's
mean,
gonna ruin someone's life over 600 bucks. I mean, I get it, but wow.
yeah. But the recruiter told her that if she paid the money back, she could be accepted. So to get the money quickly, she turned to sex work. So
Now,
what?
oftentimes I think to myself, there's got to be something easier than my job. Oh,
OnlyFans.
I, yeah, if I could just get a following on OnlyFans, and
When you're doing your appearances, could you at least promote the podcast while you're doing it?
sure, definitely.
But
Get me a banner. That'd be how I start out. I'll like cover myself with it and very seductively lower it down. If you want to see more,
with,
subscribe to Crimes, Killers, Cults, and Beer.
with Fever playing in the background. Ding, ding, ding.
Okay, you know what? You're not going to find this on OnlyFans. I mean, if you're looking for it, it's not there. But you know what? If you like and subscribe to this video and say you really want
Oh man,
to get more subscribers,
that's not going to be an outtake. That's staying in. What made the kidnapper think that the police would pay a ransom for a sex worker? But still, the police played along. He said that there would be a call coming in from a phone box, and if they didn't comply, not only will Julie die, a public building would be bombed. The ransom run was started at Birmingham New Street call box. The policewoman went there, but nothing happened. There was no call or anything. But there was a note taped on to the phone that the policewoman didn't see, and this note had instructions for her to go to a different call box. So still nothing happened. 3 days later, Julie's body was found in a field 80 miles from Leeds. She had hammer marks on the back of her head and ligature marks on her neck. Forensics determined that she had actually been killed prior to the ransom run, but the kidnapper, now murderer, had gone ahead with the plot anyway. Real nice guy.
so he went through all that and she was already dead. I mean, I think that's kind of par for the course sometimes, though. A lot of times they say, I want ransom, and the person's they're
Yeah.
already dead, unfortunately.
Several days later, a letter from the killer arrived at the police station detailing how Julie had been killed. He also said that Julie was not raped, which is bullshit because he had been a customer of Julie's and he had kidnapped her after their second or third date. So I don't believe for a minute that he didn't rape her. He had already done things with her,
Yeah,
consensually. So
yeah. I mean, unless he took her under the pretense of paying her again and then killed her afterwards and was kind of like, well, she wasn't technically raped because I figured I was going to pay her and she thought so.
yeah,
Maybe he's that kind of slime ball.
but he wanted police to think that he was a gentleman, saying that her death was quick and she felt no pain. He's such a nice murderer.
Oh, thank you. Be grateful that he killed her in such a nice, loving way.
Yeah. Oh man, John Crutchley, the Florida vampire.
Mhm.
Um, his his wife was refused to believe it, and she said that after he was in prison, she's like, it was a gentle rape. His wife said that. You idiot.
I, it reminds me of a, I can't remember, it's some girl on YouTube sang it a long time ago, but she sang a song called Illegitimate Rape, where she talked about all these reasons people say that it's real rape. It's illegitimate rape. I was raped by my husband, and that's a husband's privilege. It's like illegitimate. Maybe it was illegitimate rape.
Rape is rape. Rape is rape is rape. But there was no explosion, no money, although a fake bomb was found at a train station that he admitted to in another letter. 6 months later, 25-year-old Stephanie Slater was kidnapped. A real estate agent who had left her office to meet a client. The name that she was given was Mr. Southall, and he wanted to look at a place that was for sale. But as she was showing him around, the man attacked her and knocked her out and took her. A package was sent to Stephanie's job, and on the cassette tape was a woman's voice, and it was saying, "This is Stephanie Slater. The time is 11:45. I can assure you, I'm okay and unharmed. Providing these instructions are carried out, I will be released on Friday, the 31st of January. The money must not be marked in any way whatsoever." But the letter finished by saying, "You have been warned. His life is in your hands." Every time the victim was referred to in the letter, the victim's gender was written as he, him, or his. And it was later speculated that the kidnapper was telling him that he could have captured a man if he wanted to.
Or he was just reusing the letter and forgot to change. I, you know, you ever done that? Like in an email or something, you forget to change something. It's just, yeah, it's a form.
Yeah,
He's got a form letter for his ransoms, and he forgot to change the gender when he made the form.
or maybe,
That's probably what happened.
but the letters were compared to the ones from Julie, or the ones about Julie, and it was obvious that they were only come not only come from the same person, but the same typewriter. You know, terrifying, yes, but Stephanie was alive, and it appeared the kidnapper wanted to keep her that way. That was a good thing, but the kidnapper demanded no police involvement or she would die. But they did report this to police, and the police struck a deal with the media. The police would keep them in the loop, but the media would sit on the story. In return, if Stephanie was recovered alive, the media would be allowed to interview her, like immediately after she was found.
I'm sure she appreciated that deal.
Yeah,
She didn't have any say in that.
yeah, but it was kind of a necessary evil though, because
I guess.
if this if the media had blown this out, like all over the place and everything, then it might have made him nervous and he might have killed her. But
True. Mm.
um, this case, this was in case somebody tried to leak the story though. Um, in the early '90s, the internet was in its infancy, and you could still keep a lid on things back then. This is also back when the media somewhat cared about people.
From
Um,
what?
yeah, if they leaked the information, Stephanie could be killed, and the media didn't want that to happen. Police figured that there would be more communications from this guy since he just wanted the payoff, and they were right. Undercover officers did go to the house, and when police went inside the vacant house, blood was found inside, and Stephanie's car was still parked out front.
So they found out that, yeah, she really was taken and it really was her. And
Yeah.
y-
The next day, there was a call to Stephanie's job from a man saying that he had kidnapped her and he was holding her for ransom. Stephanie's boss began getting the money together, but they only had 7 days to put a plan together to get this guy. Stephanie's adopted parents were informed. They obviously lost their minds, but they held up hope that Stephanie would be returned. Their home phone was set up to be traced in case the kidnapper called again, and the same at her job. A call came into the home. It was Stephanie reassuring them that she was okay. She it was a tape. He was playing a tape of her, but it was obvious that the tape had been made like the same day because she even mentioned the score of a football match that had happened the previous day.
was it the Rams?
it's
Irony.
it's soccer, not football.
Uh, I forget, we're in the UK now. They don't do that
Well,
American football stuff.
I said football match. You don't call a football game like the one I'm watching right now as we do this. You don't call that a football match. That's a football game.
Okay.
So
How are those Dolphins? Disappointing still?
they're down by 2 points and moving the ball. So they're actually looking pretty. They're actually looking good this game. They're playing Buffalo and doing very well against them.
Give them time.
I know. I have low expectations. But the money was supposed to be in a duffel bag and dropped off at a predetermined spot. The day before, Sam's called Stephanie's boss, Kevin Watts, and he was the one who was going to make the drop. And he called demanding to know if he had the money. And none of these calls were able to be traced, but they were recorded. And this guy
We
sounds like a
take
little
for
bit.
granted that. Well, I mean, I like today, it's so much harder to use a phone and not be able to be found, pinpointed. Back when there were payphones, I and our older viewers will remember those things that you put coins into. You make a call. It was easier.
This guy was such a he sounded like such a freaking twerp too. They played through the recording. He's like, "You got the money? Do you have it? You got the money? You got the money? You're gonna have the money. You're gonna have the money." It just
We had to have the accent. We
I'm not
couldn't do an episode
exaggerating.
without you trying.
I'm not exaggerating though. That's what he sounded like.
Mhm.
you, you got the money.
Well, and where was his wife at this time? Because he was married, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. He told Watts to go to Glossop railway station 2 hours away, and Watts went there, and several detectives followed him in unmarked cars. A CB radio was put into his car so he could communicate with the detectives. There was also a tiny tracking device in the duffel bag that had been sewed into the material.
Lining.
Yeah, the
Mm.
lining. Um, and there was also a tracking device on Watts's car. He was to go to a phone box where he would take a phone call, and police tapped that phone previously, obviously, but there was no phone call. There was just a note telling Watts to go to another phone box 18 miles away. So the weather began getting really bad. Is like extremely
Miles or kilometers? I just thought
kilo-
about that.
kilometers, probably kilometers.
Don't use miles in the UK, I don't think.
Yeah, kilometers, kilometers.
Kilometers, yeah.
The fog was very, very, very thick, like whiteout conditions, and it was making it difficult to keep eyes on Watts. And keep in mind, Watts has zero police experience, and he was leading a ransom run. And this is how highly he thought of Stephanie. I mean, she was
Mm.
a good employee for him, apparently. He got to the phone box, and there was a note with the map saying that with directions that saying that he was supposed to follow to the letter. Um, the route, according to the kidnapper, would show whether or not that he was being followed. There was a dirt
Was it
road.
MapQuest?
No, it was
Because
just
that
handwritten. It was just handwritten.
see, because that would have been the
He
thing back
he has
in.
a typewriter.
Uh, True, but yeah, I'm sure you remember MapQuest though, right? Printing
Oh
out
yeah,
those turn by turns.
oh yeah. I saw this. I saw this screenshot of a post that somebody had made. It was a meme, and it said, "What did people do before GPS?" And somebody replied, "They used maps." And and the person's like, "No, I mean before MapQuest, they used maps."
Actual map. How did they circumnavigate the globe? The map.
Oh man, but there was a dirt road where only one car at a time could get down. So Watts proceeded, and the police backed off because obviously he'd be able to tell if he was being followed on that road. So now he's put together a pretty clever plan. He
Yeah.
really has, but he's still an idiot.
Yeah.
um,
And don't give him too much credit. Right?
yeah, he was alone. Um, Watts was alone and presumably going to meet a suspected killer. To make matters worse, the CB radio died, and And several policemen went in on foot to cover the ground, to get eyes on him on foot and everything. Uh, and with how thick the fog was, I mean, it would be pretty easy for him to do that. But still, they'd have to get right up on him in order, because the fog, you couldn't see 2 feet in front of you.
Wow. Thick as jellied brains.
Yeah.
Thicker.
Um, but Watts was to go to a building and take all of the money out of his duffel bag and put it into another one. So this neutralized the tracker that they'd sewn into the bag.
He probably suspected that. I mean,
Yeah. This guy seemed to have thought of everything. And once Watts did that, he proceeded to a building with a sign that had instructions on what to put the money onto a tray that was there, and that the money would not be collected until Watts had gone away. Watts did as instructed, and but the tray had been connected to a rope, and the bag was pulled down about 20 feet into an embankment where it was retrieved. By the by the time the police got there, the man was long gone, and it wouldn't have mattered if he was 20 feet away because of the fog, but they never would have seen him. Officers realized that this was a out of service brick train bridge. He was under the bridge, tied up. So, see, he sounds clever, doesn't he? He sounds really
that does
clever.
actually that does sound pretty clever, actually. Yeah. I'm wondering where the cleverness goes away. The idiocy shows up because yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah. But they did find the tray and the rope, though. Um, they had lost the money, and they were convinced that Stephanie was going to be killed too. But later that night, something happened. Take a guess.
Hmm. Did Stephanie show up? Did he
Hmm.
call again?
There was an
Ah.
there was an officer who had been embedded at Stephanie's parents' house in case anything happened at the house. Around 1 a.m., there was a knock at the door. The officer cautiously answered the door, and standing at the doorstep was Stephanie Slater. She was disheveled looking, traumatized, and dirty, but otherwise fine. And her parents rushed to hug her, but the officer backed them off in case there was evidence on her clothes. And she had been missing for 8 days. The officer called the police station with the good news. Everybody in town was celebrating, but the killer had slipped away. He had literally dropped Stephanie off a block from the house and drove off. And another blunder was that the police had asked for surveillance on the house, but it was denied because they didn't want the man to be tipped off. They figured that the embedded officer would have been enough.
I don't think he's gonna approach the house. Like, I don't think he's gonna come up
Right.
to the house and be like, "Excuse me," knock on the door and be like, "As promised,
Yeah, but
here she is."
if they had had police, like, you know in the neighborhood,
Nearby.
they would have seen the
Yeah.
car. But luckily, a man saw the car drive up and Stephanie get out. He gave the police a description of the car, and it was a red Austin Metro, little freaking tiny little freaking toy car. Makes those freaking smart cars look big.
Well, they're all kind of like that in the UK, aren't they? You know, they're not like us Americans, okay, with our big gas guzzling diesels.
The
Every time I see
Humvees.
a car and I see the gas guzzler tax, I have to laugh because I'm like,
But Stephanie was put in front of the press, as was promised to them, as in the deal. The press had held up their end of the deal by keeping it quiet, and Stephanie performed as well as could be expected. After the interview, she was taken to the hospital and cleaned up. She was interviewed by the police, and she gave every detail that she had. This woman had been through hell. She didn't know where she had been taken, but she had been blindfolded the entire time. But she had a very vivid memory of what she had heard, felt, or even smelled. She didn't.
wow.
I mean, the worst part of it was that she had been kept in a wheelie bin which is what the British call the roadside garbage bins that you put by the street.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It was laid on its side, and she had to get in feet first, and then into the fetal position to get in. There was a metal bar over the top of it with bricks holding it down, and she was told that if she tried to push it open, the bricks would fall. It would fall in and crush her. He had also roped up her arms out at the top of the bin and attached them to hooks in the ceiling, so her arms were held up all night long. She lost feeling in her arms, and so she was in a fetal position on her back with her arms up in the air.
Wow, that poor thing.
Yeah,
She must have been just. I don't know. You must go somewhere else in your mind for something like that because the discomfort and yeah, she must have
mm.
just blocked a lot of that out somehow.
Well, she
You
remembered
know.
everything, but
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like when you go through certain situations, you must go into a type of shock where you don't feel things
yeah,
as much as you would, because I can't imagine.
but he also said that there were live wires attached to it, and it would electrify her. It, there were wires attached to it that he could flip a switch and electrocute her if she screamed. But she initially thought that she was in a basement because and it was like really cold. She was afraid that she would die of hypothermia if he didn't kill her first. When she was first interviewed, she said that she hadn't been raped. She wanted to spare her parents that knowledge, but years later, she wrote a book saying that her first night in captivity, the man had in fact raped her. She said that she wished that she had said it up front so that they could have done a rape kit and charged him with that as well. But
Yeah, but that's also something a lot of victims they keep and they don't
mhm,
say it till later, unfortunately.
yeah, she said that she could hear a phone ringing in the distance. He had left a radio on as well as tuned into a news station. And that's how she was able to keep track of time. The kidnapper also had a northern accent. She could hear a microwave running and the ding with when it was done cooking, the door being open and closed. She was able to see a little bit out of the top of the blindfold and saw that the building had wooden beams and ceiling rafters. And that's when she realized she was in an old building and not a basement. Um, she also said that she would frequently hear trains running by. Kind of weird. It's kind of ominous how trains just keep randomly popping up in this episode. I thought that.
Ah, well, I mean, but you know, clearly, if he was in that train place when he collected the money, it must have been close to where he was holding her. So,
Yeah, it didn't say. No, because remember, he had him go to one phone box and then another one 18 miles away or 18 kilometers away.
Mm. 18 kilometers.
Kilometers.
I mean, but maybe I mean, if she was hearing those train, I don't know if maybe it would have been closer to where he was actually holding her.
Yeah. She
She
realized
wouldn't
that
have to run far with that duffel bag of money.
yeah. She realized that if she cooperated with the man, she'd be more likely to survive. So she got to him. Julie, on the other hand, was argumentative and she was also claustrophobic. So that's likely why she was killed. Um,
Yeah, I mean, I would think being put in one of those things with threats of electrocution and bricks crushing you would make anybody claustrophobic.
oh yeah, but Julie was a scrapper, and so but that was something that Michael Sands would later confirm. Stephanie said that on the night that she was released, the man came in and told her that she was going home. Along the way, she was still blindfolded, but she could see a little bit out of the top of her blindfold, and she clocked it. She clocked the trip in her head. She told police the signs that she saw out of the top of the blindfold, and this led to believe police led police. Nah, this this led
Lead
police
police.
to realize that the building was somewhere near Newark. Yeah, I mean the manhunt for the kidnapper was on, and the press was demanding answers. And this manhunt at the time was the largest one that so far in British history. Um, but you know, I may have put this later on in the episode, but I'm just gonna say it now. It's like the way that she was remembering things and all that stuff. Do you remember the kidnapping scene in Short Circuit 2, where he's sitting there with a little piece of paper, like doing little pinpricks in the paper
Oh
whenever
yeah,
the car made a
yeah,
turn? That's kind of
yeah.
what that reminded me of. And
Short
it
Circuit too. Yeah, that's one of those movies where it's like the first Short Circuit. I always, is a classic.
Yeah, the first one's a
Then they kind
classic.
of made more of them.
Yeah, the second one was okay. The third one was just dumb. But
No disassemble.
no disassemble. Johnny Five is alive.
I do like when he starts repeating all the words. When she's like, shut up, quiet, silence. Like,
Trashing her house. Spaghetti. Cooking
yeah.
utensil.
Ooh, domestic animal, dog, cat.
Yeah, now I'm gonna have to watch that movie again.
Needs some input.
Yeah. The one of the letters that was analyzed had a number of different scenarios that could happen if the police did something or if Watts did something. He was trying to make the police think that he was some master criminal who could predict the future. But every single letter had BTKS grammar and spelling errors. He was toying with police and he was taunting them, and he even threatened to derail a passenger train. He did follow through with that. The, the police found the section where he said that he was going to do it, and he had, in fact, sabotaged it.
Yeah.
Luckily, no train came by before they were able to fix it. So this guy, he was he wasn't kidding.
So he wasn't so dumb.
He was dumb. A task force was put together to investigate both Julie's kidnapping and murder, as well as Stephanie's ordeal together as one case. The letters had stopped, but when it was announced that the cases had been linked, they got a letter. The letter said that he was the kidnapper of Stephanie, but there was no way possible that there could be any positive connection between the two cases. He did not commit murder.
Mm.
So he's getting nervous at this point. Uh-oh, they're on to me about the murder. Oh no.
I took Stephanie. That no way. No.
Yeah.
I didn't kill anybody.
But he began acting like he was lamenting what he had done to Stephanie. He said that the memory haunts him every night and he has to cry himself to sleep. He said, with a little luck, Stephanie will get over it shortly, but I never will. I'm truly sorry,
Oh, boo
Stephanie.
hoo, you
Yeah.
asshole.
I'm truly sorry, Mr. and Mrs. Slater and Stephanie. Freaking
Ah,
crocodile tears. He's trying to make it out like he was the real victim. And he said that he had never,
narcissistic.
yeah, very. He said that he had never killed before and he would never dream of killing anybody. Well, you did say, okay, let's take Julie out of the equation. You did threaten to kill Stephanie. In your letters,
You
you said give
threatened to
us
electrocute her, crush her, kill her if you didn't get money.
right. So he said
You weren't
he was
exactly a nice rapist, right? The nice, gentle
a
rapist. You
gentle
weren't one of
rapist.
those. The hell. Uh,
Oh man, what an asshole! But the police weren't going to let him get away. Sure, he was a killer and a kidnapper, and he had gotten away with a lot of money, and that made the police look foolish. But he had also made terroristic threats and even tried to launch an attack. If he hadn't told him
I
about the
never
sabotage
tried to kill anybody except for those mass murders on
on
trains
the
and
train,
buildings that I
yeah,
threatened to bomb.
yeah, If he hadn't
Mm.
told them about the sabotage of the train track, a train likely would have derailed.
You know, that isn't that great when you create a problem and then fix it and then claim that you're such a nice guy for doing it. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah, I put that bomb in the building, but if I hadn't have told you the bomb was there enough, and then all those people would be dead. They're alive because of me, because I
yeah.
told you the bomb I put was there,
I am.
right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. I'm. I'm.
Such a
I'm
good
just.
guy.
I'm a good guy. Oh man, police
What
even thought.
logic?
Police even thought at one point that he had some type of military intelligence experience, just because of the sophistication of the plan for the money drop. And but but they knew what he drove, and they had a recording of his voice, so they used it. They gave
What
the
was
this.
his voice like, Bill? Because you got to give us another.
Do you got the money? Do you have it? Do you have the money? Do you have the money? I should have made a sound drop for that. But they knew what he drove, and they had a recording of his voice, so they used it. They gave the description of the car and the recording to the press, who aired it, specifically the British crime show Crime Watch. It was a lot like America's Most Wanted, and in the 90s, 12 million people a week would watch it.
And how all the people watching the show are like, "Hey, I've heard a little twat like that."
Yeah,
I
13
recognize.
13,000 people called in. One woman believed that the voice was her ex-husband. He had the car, the voice sounded like him, and he loved trains. And plus, they had gotten the sketch pretty close to what he actually looked like. And what was her ex's name? Michael Benjamin Sands. There was a problem, though.
What
He only
was the
had
problem?
he only had one leg.
Oh,
He had gotten cancer years earlier, and the leg was amputated to stop the spread of the cancer. Um,
I mean, you can get around on one leg.
well, yeah. When she got a picture of him to the police, it looked exactly like the sketch, exactly as Stephanie had described. So the police went to his house, and the door was answered by his current wife, Tina. And she said that he was at work, and they told her that they would come back to talk to him at 5. Um, but his second wife told him where he worked, so they went straight there in case Tina had called him.
Was he a train conductor?
No, but
That would have been.
they, you know, so they went straight to the to they damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. They went straight to the job, and um, along the way, they saw specific landmarks that Stephanie had described. And when they arrived, the car was parked out back, and they went in and announced themselves as cops. And Sam said, "I've been expecting you."
Is that how he said it?
Yeah. Well, there's no audio of that, but yeah.
It's
Um,
speculation.
but what they had told his wife was they were looking for somebody that had that type of car. They were questioning everybody with that type of car. But Sam was arrested and charged with Stephanie's kidnapping, and he freely admitted that, but denied killing Julie.
I'm really wondering what went through his wife's mind when they came like, yeah, we're questioning everybody with this type of car, and oh, okay, and then thinking about it, like, the description of this person sounds strangely like the person I'm married to.
Yeah.
Yikes.
The media did digging on him, and he he had been convicted of insurance fraud in 1978. He thought it wasn't fair that he had to go to prison, and he hated police ever since. It got worse. Um, when he started complaining about pain in his knee, and prison officials discovered that he had cancer, and the leg was amputated. he tried to sue the prison over that, but nothing came of it. It's like,
It's like because they ignored him or something like that. He say they were negligent,
you took my legs. I like that leg.
like in Guardians. I need that man's leg.
But the kidnapping and ransom was his devious plan to get revenge on the police. But the police still had no evidence of Julie's death, and when they searched the room that Stephanie had been held in, they found blood at the bottom of a curtain that had wicked up from the floor. That was tested, and it came back as a very rare blood type.
A
Yeah,
rare,
a rare,
a rare blood type.
a very rare blood type. Only 6% of the population had this blood type. One of the people who had it was Julie Dart.
Must be like AB negative or something.
Didn't say. They went over to the trash bin. They found hair in it. There were two different shades of brown. One was Stephanie's, the other Julie Dart.
Julie's.
Yeah. Sam swore that he had never meant Stephanie any harm, but
Ah, only a little electrocution,
sticking her in a trash bin and
crushing.
raping her, and even though they didn't know that he had done that yet, but that's not harming her.
Not at all. She's fine. She'll
Yeah,
get over it, right?
J-
He needs to
just
live with this every day,
yeah,
every night. He has to cry.
yeah, and
Have some sympathy.
she just needs to toughen up.
Yeah. I mean, gosh, and you have some sympathy for this poor man that has to cry himself to sleep because of,
Because of his own
you know,
actions.
right.
um, they showed him the letters about Julie that he had written. One was handwritten poorly, and he wrote samples. He wrote samples of that with his right hand, and they didn't match. But the officer said, "Why don't you try writing the exact same sentence with your left hand?" He had purposely
Mm.
written it left-handed, so the officer was Johnny on the spot to catch that. Just, write it left-handed.
Okay. I don't know if any of my letters would be legible left-handed. I mean, maybe. It'd take me a really long time to write.
Yeah, but that was brilliant on the cop. Yeah, do it left-handed. I have something to tell you. I am not left-handed either.
I
What?
want to fight him left-handed.
He was still denying having anything to do with Julie's murder, and he then began saying that he had an accomplice who he wasn't going to give up because if he did, the accomplice might try to hurt Stephanie. And he said he cared about Stephanie. He said the accomplice had killed Julie and he wanted to kill Stephanie. He also said that the accomplice had taken the 175K.
Seems legit. Uh,
They had to find it, and Sam's was denying knowing where it was. There was a train line that Sam said that he went to go train spotting, and it was a good way away from his house. But you could see all the trains you wanted from his house because there was like a main train line like less than a block away from his house. So there was no reason for him to go all the way out there. So that's where they went to search first.
there were better trains out there.
Better trains. Little boy walks up to his mom and says, "Mom, if big cows make little cows and big bears make little bears, how come big trains don't make little trains?" And the mom says, "Go ask your dad." And so he goes up to dad, said, Daddy, if if big cows make little cows and big bears make little bears, how come big trains don't make little trains?" Dad says, "Go ask your grandpa." So he walks up to the granddaddy, if if big cows make little cows and big bears make little bears, how come big trains don't make little trains? And Granddad says, "Go down to the train station and ask the conductor." So gets on his bike, goes down to the train station, walks up to the conductor. He says, "My mom, my dad, and my grandpa all don't know the answer to this, and my grandpa told me to come ask you. If big cows make little cows, big bears make little bears, how come big trains don't make little trains?" Conductor looks him dead in the eye and he says, "You go back and tell your grandpa, your mom, and your dad that the reason that big trains don't make little trains is because the 515 always pulls out on time."
Bye, everybody.
Outtake or leave it in? I think I'll leave that in. That's funny. It's relevant.
hmm Uh,
Oh, come on. That was good. The police went. The police went there with ground probing radar, and they found something. They dug it up, and it was a bag full of money. Um, but it was only half of it. Sam said that there were two bags, so the other one was still out there, and the accomplice had to have his half. So on a hunch, they went back there the next day to the same area and began probing the ground. They struck gold again. There was a container buried that had the other half of the money. So they had him. Sams was charged with Stephanie's kidnapping and Julie's kidnapping and murder. The jury returned a guilty verdict, and he was given 4 life sentences. Um, Stephanie had PTSD and survivor's guilt for the rest of her life, and she became an advisor to the police, helping officers deal with victims of horrible crimes. She later wrote a book about her experience as a warning to other women about things like this. She came clean about the rape and said, when she wrote the book, she said that when she had finally come clean, it was like a weight off of her shoulders, and she was glad that she had done it and wished that she had reported it when she was initially released. Sams, however, said she was lying about the rape. He later changed his story, saying that they were in love and it was consensual.
uh, oh, as he sits there going, "What was her name again?"
Yeah.
Don't remember.
He later tried to sue Stephanie for libel, but that was thrown out as well. And shortly after that, he attacked a prison guard and tried to kill her. She he had gone in there, to file a complaint because they wouldn't let him sue Stephanie for libel, and then he just attacked her. Two inmates intervened and pulled him off of her. think they got
This guy is
think they got
special. I mean,
think they got some
wow.
extra pudding that night after at dinner.
A bit. Pudding. I thought every dessert is pudding to British people.
if you if you don't eat your meat, you can't have any pudding.
What if I don't like pudding?
How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? But he
I'm
was
not going to
charged.
talk about eating meat on this channel. That's on my OnlyFans.
It's Pink Floyd song. Another brick in the wall. But he was charged with false imprisonment for this, not of attempted murder, but false imprisonment, and that got him another 10 years. Stephanie unfortunately died of cancer in 2017 at 50 years old. Michael Sams is now 83 and still incarcerated at Wakefield Prison. He's been denied parole several times. A
Pinky
crime writer,
promise for him.
no pinky promise release program for him. Although I think it's weird that they give frickin' Mackay's pinky promise release program, but not Sam's. Well, Sam's isn't a good inmate apparently. That's the
Mm.
difference. That's the difference. Apparently, Mackay is the model prisoner. A crime writer, Christopher Barry D., wrote a book called Unmasking Mr. Kipper, Who Really Killed Susie Lampook. She also was a real estate agent who was killed in 1986 while she was showing a house. Dee was trying to link her murder to Sam's, but that theory was dismissed by police, and to this day, that case is unsolved.
Hmm.
You can, I mean, she was just killed at the location. She wasn't kidnapped or anything like that. So, it doesn't. It's not. That's not his mo. But
No, I mean he definitely is a can concoct a hostage situation,
yeah,
get money.
you got the money. You have it. You have the money.
Daddy, daddy.
Daddy. but, but that's it.
See, we
That's
didn't
the
hear about
story.
his parents though. I mean, like
No, there was
that's what's
nothing there.
missing was, a militant father, an abusive mother or something. Yeah.
His mom wouldn't let him go down to the train station and watch the trains.
Oh.
That's it. That joke was about him. He never found, but he never went to the conductor to ask why big trains don't make little trains. Public service announcement: if your kid asks why big trains don't make little trains, tell them. You could wind up with
Uh-huh.
a killer, a kidnapper, extortionist. Wasn't that a good story though?
Oh, it's a very good story, yes. Except for the train joke and the bad British accent, and
that was
the
that
miles.
was
I
how he
think.
talked. I really did. Um, yeah, I really did do a good job with on that voice. That was how he talked.
I'll take your word for it. Well, go find a clip of him. See, what you need to do is find a clip of him and play it on the channel, and then play your version of it, and see just how good you did.
1 second. I will do that.
One eternity later.
All right, ready?
Okay, I'm ready. I'm waiting with bated breath.
Hold on. Hello, tell me what? Speaking. You got the money? Hello? Have you got the money? Who's this, please? Never mind. Have you got the money? For tomorrow? For tomorrow? Yeah. Have you got it? I'm getting it, yeah. 3:00.
Now, do you believe me?
Got the money.
You got the money.
Got the money.
You got the money
Got the money.
for
Got the
tomorrow.
money.
Do you have it? Do you have it? Do you got the money? See, I that was spot on.
All right, it was okay.
Anyway, ready to bring your hubby in?
Yes.
All right. All right. So, welcome, Doug. It's time for beer of the week. How's it going, man?
Going all right, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Battling a little cough here, but
Hell,
pulling through it.
it's that time. It's that time of the year, man. Seasons changing and people getting sick and whatnot. So I hope you feel better.
Yeah, but
I'm always sick and tired.
Both
um,
sick and tired.
so we're so we're wrapping up the old Michael Sam's case. That guy was a real piece of work.
Mhm.
But one of probably the probably a really one of the probably the my favorite episode out of the Canada or out of the British Binge so far. So there was a lot of twists and turns in that episode in that
Mhm.
story. So what do you got for us this week?
So what I got for y'all this week? This is a very common beer. That you it's in a lot, especially in Florida. It's in a lot of grocery stores and whatnot. You can usually find it. But it's from a brewery called Founders. And it is their breakfast stout. So
Breakfast.
Founder.
Now,
Yep.
you'll notice that my husband has
Oh,
a somewhat strange accent when he
y-
says breakfast,
bra-
and that's his
breakfast.
father. That's his
Yeah.
father from West Virginia coming out when he says breakfast. So
No,
Yeah.
I wasn't commenting on that. I was commenting on the fact that it's a beer with the word breakfast on it.
Oh yeah. Yeah. These are so breakfast stouts. By the way, let me show you the pour here. Very thick, very dark.
Damn.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is super dark.
Next time I change my oil, I'm just going to grab a case of
Mm,
that.
yeah, yeah. This stuff is light does not penetrate that beer. Founders Breakfast Stout is from Founders. It's actually ranked. The reason I chose this beer is it's very widely found. You can find it in Publix, you can find it in Total Wine, just about any place that normally sells craft beer in abundance. But
And
it's ranked,
breakfast
yeah,
restaurants,
and breakfast restaurants, yes.
the
But
Waffle House.
it's I wish. Um, so it's actually on beeradvocate.com. It is ranked 100 out of 100. So the ones I've reviewed in the past have been in the 80s to 90s or so. This is 100 of 100, and it is ranked number 2 in oatmeal stouts across the board. So ranked number 2 in oatmeal stouts. So one thing right off the bat with this, most people, I believe, around the world and in America, what goes with breakfast? What's like one of the main things?
Bacon, eggs,
A
uh,
it
liquid.
goes
orange juice,
spaghetti.
milk, spaghetti.
No, coffee.
Doug, uh,
Coffee is very, very prominent with this beer. It is very strong on the coffee. It almost smells like an espresso. It is made with Sumatra Kona coffee. So if anyone's familiar with that coffee brand, it is made with that brand of coffee. Very nice head on it as well. Very thick head because obviously it is a stout and such. You can see that rim there. That is a very thick head on this. Very nice. Um, Also, uh, lots of Java again on the nose and some caramel in there as well. But on the bottle, um, it is double chocolate coffee oatmeal stout, which that coffee note comes through a lot. Sweet and decadent is the call outs on the bottle. So let's have a taste here. That is very heavy on the coffee. It is actually, if you just take a Bud Light, Bill, and pour a cup of black coffee in it, and you basically, I mean, it obviously tastes a lot better than Bud Light, but that's kind of the gist of this. Is it just kicks you in the teeth with coffee. There
so
are a
so
lot of
since so since alcohol is a depressant, coffee is a stimulant. You drink this, it's going to put your system into haywire.
so I know at a certain temperature caffeine is burned off. I don't know as far as the boil on this if it retains any of that caffeine on it,
Hmm.
but yeah, there
Well,
there
it doesn't.
is
It doesn't boil out of coffee.
fair, yeah. But then again, I mean, do you heat coffee up to a boiling temperature or to like 120, 130 to get it hot? I mean, there's hot coffee and then there's a boiling pot of coffee, which when you make beer, you have to bring it to a certain temperature for the boil.
Hmm.
Well, boil is boil, but
Hmm.
I'm sure a length of boil time could depend too.
Very so you're right when you were talking about the darkness and thickness of this. You can chew this beer. This is a chewable beer. It coats, very flavorful, especially with the coffee notes. A little bit of sweet on the back end, um, but no, this is very delightful. I've had this beer several times. I love this beer. Um, but yeah, I wanted to do something today that was both high ranked on the website and easily available. So if someone's in the area or go to your local Publix, go to your local Total Wine, ABC, they should have this Founder's Breakfast Stout. Give it a try. It is very dark, very heavy, very thick. It is also high on the ABV volume as well. I think it's like an 8% or 8.3. I was right. Yeah,
Oh wow.
8.3% alcohol by volume. So
you said you could chew the beer. So it was basically like the humidity today.
absolutely right. Yes, the humidity today, which it's been nice. It's been
I
like very
know,
dry and cool, and then
but it
today we
wasn't.
got some rain, and
It
it's
wasn't even like summer day hot. It was like mid 80s, but the humidity was. It's like you needed a machete to get through it.
It
That's
was very gross.
yeah, the
I
worst
had a
humidity I've been through
severe
in a
case of
while.
Florida swamp ass at the end of the day. Like, ugh.
so.
I think he
Um,
likes this one.
Oh yeah. This one, like I said, it's one of my favorites. But for the viewers and listeners out there, if you want to try one of the beers that I've put on the show, they're kind of hard to find. Some of them. This one, very high ranked. Again, 100 out of 100 on BeerAdvocate.com, ranked number 2 in oatmeal stouts, and easily findable in your local liquor beer cave, if you will.
So if the show winds up being like one of the top true crime shows out there, you gotta brew up an official CKCB beer.
Oh, absolutely. I have all the equipment to do it. I just need to buy ingredients. But yeah, yep, I still have all the equipment. It's in the garage. Just got to clean it up and set it up and make beer. So,
Ah,
but as a reminder for the viewers and listeners out there, ckcbeer@gmail.com. Please send me your beers that you want me to try. If I can find it, I'll absolutely put it on the show and give it a go. But again, ckcbeer@gmail.com.
And be the first one to contact him. That would be awesome. We'll make you a T-shirt that says I'll for the first person that contacts Doug, I will make a CKCB T-shirt with something across the bottom of it that says the first beer suggestion. Yeah,
Absolutely.
we did that
Sounds
for
like a plan.
we did that for the first Patreon subscriber. We sent her a shirt that the OG Patreon subscriber.
nice.
So we'll do the same thing with the beer. Y'all heard it. That's a promise from me. The several people have gotten T-shirts for various reasons, and so yeah, be the first submission to Doug's beer reviews, and you'll get a T-shirt. So
Sounds good.
anyway, that was cool as always. And if you follow us, like us, subscribe, smash that share button,
If
like,
you like us, tell
review.
a friend.
If you hate us, tell an enemy, and the things.
All the things. Do all the
all
things.
the things. So, and until next time, later.
Cheers.
Bye.